Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into acrobatic and tumbling. My guest today is the Executive Director of the National Collegiate Acrobatic and Tumbling Association, and her name is Janell Cook. We are also at the NCAA conference in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I am a University of Oregon Duck. So I went to school there. I was a softball student athlete, so got to compete there and during my time as a student athlete. And then worked there primarily right after college. Got my graduate degree there. And so, I'm a Duck through and through.
So let's just go back in time before we get started on what you're doing. In high school, when did it all start for you? Was it freshman year of high school, senior year? When did you start thinking about going to college?
Yeah, that's a great question. In our family, it was very much, you're going to college. So it was not a matter of if, but where. And growing up on the West Coast, it was all about the Pac-10. It was the Pac-10 then. Now we
don't have it.
It's barely there anymore. But it was the Pac-10, and that was the goal. I grew up going to Stanford women's basketball games and Cal softball games, and wanted to be part of the Pac-10. So it started early for me. We were a sports family, love of sports, and it was always college sports. So that's when it started. I would say, the process of actually thinking through the colleges started, my sophomore, junior year, kind of that traditional recruiting time when you start to get contacted and, get the letters in the mail. Started really thinking about where do I want to be. My family's from the Northwest, and so I had, been to Eugene many times. It's a college town. I wanted to be in a college town. So that was really where it started for me.
So now you're at Oregon. What's it like? What's the softball team like? What's the school like?
Yeah, well, it was a little while ago. So things were very different then. We were competing in the Pac-10, which was by far the most competitive softball conference in the nation, which was another reason why I wanted to be a student athlete there. But I was adjusting to the rain. I grew up in sunny California, so I was adjusting to the rain. And really just, it's a wonderful college town. It has a great, the community is very supportive of all of the sports. So, where you're not, a secondary sport, it's not just about football and basketball. The community really shows up for every sport.
Wow.
So it was really just, learning about the campus, learning about the community, being on my own for the first time, all of those good things that you learn as a college student.
How was the team when you were there?
The team was pretty good. They had previously been to, some World Series back at that time again. There was a regional tournament, and the winners of the regional tournament went right to the World Series. Now we have a super regional system and all the added layers there. But they had been to some World Series, and the team was undergoing some changes. They had a newer coach, and so we were okay. It was actually kind of a turbulent student-athlete experience. I had 3 head coaches during my 4 years there. So from that perspective, I had a great time on the field, but the team perspective was tough. It wasn't what I dreamed about. But the support staff, the strength and conditioning coach, the academic advisors, we had nutritionists and our athletic trainers. They were all so wonderful. And they took care of the student athletes at a very high level. And those are the people that, still to this day are my main contacts there, and the people that have, helped propel me forward professionally as well. So it was kind of tough on the field, but the experience off the field was so positive. And so I was really able to grow as a person, as a student. And even though, there were challenges with all the coaches, it was nice to have those people in the department that were coaching us up on the other aspects of life.
Now, so you go from that, graduating college, and how does one go from graduating college to becoming the executive director for acrobatic and tumbling?
Well, I never would have dreamed it. I was just a very traditional sports kid. I didn't know much about cheerleading. I had done gymnastics when I was little, but when you're 5, 6, and 5th grade, they move you on to volleyball and basketball and other sports. So I definitely appreciated all the athleticism, but I didn't know much about those sports. I stayed at Oregon to do my graduate degree, and then I spent a fantastic year at Dartmouth College as a graduate intern and learned about ice hockey and squash and field hockey and all of these sports that, the Ivy League offers a wide complement of sports that I had never, played or learned much about before. And then I returned after that back to Oregon and worked at Oregon for most of my career in different capacities. So I worked in fundraising, academic advising. I was the director of ops for our women's basketball team for a stint. And then through those opportunities was my former administrator there at the University of Oregon asked me if I would be willing to help this new emerging sport. They had already figured out all of the hard stuff. They had figured out a new competition format. They had figured out how they were going to operate, but they needed some administration to come in and help organize, form committees, steward the NCAA emerging sport process. And so she asked if I would, take a couple years and help them out, and that was 12 years ago. So.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long 2 years.
Yeah. So tell us about the sport. What's involved? What type of students come and what do they look for?
Sure.
Give me a little bit of what the sport is about.
Yeah, well, it's a truly unique story, and if you're a sports fan, you will love the sport. You'll love the story. At the time, the University of Maryland had elevated their competitive cheer team in order to comply with Title IX, provided scholarships and wanted to count them in their Title IX, the EADA report. And there was a lot of debate over whether or not that could be counted. And so the coaches that formed the NCATA and created acrobatics and tumbling, there were 6 original schools. So the University of Oregon, Baylor University, Azusa Pacific University, Fairmont State, Quinnipiac University, and the University of Maryland. They came together and said, they're onto something here, but we want to be integrated into the athletic department and have a full season of competition, and we want to compete on campus, and we really want to have this operate the same way that all the other varsity sports on campus operate. So they had the vision, and together with their administrators, they put together something for a new format that would incorporate all the athletic aspects of cheerleading, that would welcome in gymnasts from various disciplines, and able to come and compete in this new format that was compliant with Title IX, that was great for universities to add. It came with a large roster size, a low initial implementation costs, and ongoing operation costs are fiscally responsible. And it was compliant with Title IX. So it was all of these things that the universities needed. It served the population of women that didn't have a varsity experience at that time, an opportunity, and really came together to create something really wonderful. So we're pulling from all different disciplines of gymnastics and cheerleading. It's a really fun format. We always say, you have to come to a meet, you have to see it live, and you'll fall in love. It's really fan-friendly. It's a mix of cheerleading, gymnastics, if you can envision Cirque du Soleil.
Let's see what that looks like.
Acrobatics and Tumbling provides unique varsity opportunities for women to compete in college athletics. Gymnasts of all disciplines and cheerleaders love this exciting sport, and your fans will too. A meet features 6 events, including acro or stunting, pyramids, tosses, tumbling, and a team event set to music. Fiscally responsible with a large roster size and utilizing your existing facilities, your institution can address enrollment in gender equity by adding this NCAA emerging sport. Contact the NCATA and visit the ncata.org for more information.
That's kind of what you're going to get.
Wow.
Just really dynamic, strength-based skills. They're in small groups mostly, and individuals. A meet has 6 events. They run about an hour and a half. You do it right in your basketball gym. And it's just a lot of fun. It's really fan-friendly, really fast-paced and exciting.
So what are the type of girls that come? Are they big girls, small girls, or are they any variety?
Great question. It's a wide variety, right? Because there's different positions within the sport. So that was, again, something that the founders really wanted. Traditionally in cheerleading, body size was a barrier for some women to continue to cheer. And so they wanted to make sure that they were inclusive of all body shapes and sizes. And so really we have positions similar, to a football or track and field team. You've got tops, obviously those are going to be a smaller individual. But we have bases, and those women need to be strong and being able to lift, another human over their head and do that and hold them safely. So there's a really wide range of sport backgrounds, of body types, of socioeconomic, ethnic backgrounds, really can draw from anyone who is competing in those two sports that we mentioned, but also, we have divers. They have great air awareness, and they're doing the same technical skills. We have weightlifters, that are wonderful bases. We have dancers that have, the background and the flexibility and all the things to be able to adapt and learn the skills. So, and we have a lot of multi-sport athletes, a lot of kids that have done, gymnastics or cheer. And both of those, any sport these days can be a huge time commitment, right?
Sure.
And so we have a lot of kids that say, well, I love gymnastics, but I also play basketball, and, I do soccer in the spring. And so those kids are often always also drawn because they're maybe not at that competitive level to make an NCAA gymnastics team, but they have really great skills, and they love what A&T brings is the team environment. Gymnastics is largely individual, and that was one of the cool things to pull from cheer is this large team environment where you're all working together, and the meets total up like a track meet. So if you're the javelin thrower, you can score points for your team. Same as if you're in the first acro event, you can score points for your team, but you don't have to be in every event.
So now the students go through the same rigor to get into the school, the academics, and so on and so forth, right?
Absolutely. It's a really traditional recruiting process. So, a lot of sports start very early, but, around your junior year, you'll get recruiting opportunities from institutions that are sponsoring the sport. And go through the same process of, entering the university and that recruiting process that traditional sports go through.
Now, as well as I do, colleges are expensive.
Yes.
Is there scholarships for this? Is there monies at the college level for this?
Yes, absolutely.
What is it?
Each, most people know, at each level there's different scholarship thresholds for teams and for sports. So at Division I, there's a slightly higher threshold than Division II. And Division III, no athletic aid is offered. But yes, our schools offer athletic scholarships, and a lot of the schools offer excellent aid packages that are merit-based, that go beyond, athletic scholarships. So a lot of parents, they're looking, or, it's a nice, thing to be able to announce that you've gotten athletic aid. But often, there's a lot more aid out there that's not athletic-based that our schools can offer. And we always say, don't sleep on D3, because sometimes their aid packages are far more robust than what an athletic scholarship could be offered at a Division I or II level.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now, as the executive director, what's entailed? What are you doing?
What am I doing? Oh, man. Well, the best way to describe it is I'm a bit like a conference commissioner. So we have 55 members across the country that are sponsoring the sport. So, I'm doing everything from overseeing, our staff that takes care of officials and our meet process and all of the scoring piece. We're working on expansion and the NCAA process. We do the scheduling, so we help provide our members with a minimum schedule. So we're kind of running the gamut of all of those things.
Do you get it on national television as well?
Yeah. Our championship is televised on ESPN Plus.
Wow.
So we're working on growing that reach, and then our institutions really have some of the bigger reach. So some of our Division I institutions, especially through their media rights packages, their meets are broadcast annually on national TV. Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of our show, and usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to parents and students that are watching this?
Yeah. I would say parents and students, being part of an athletics team is such a wonderful opportunity at the collegiate level. And we know from the research across the country that women that participate in sports are more likely to go on and have success in their careers later in life. And so if you have an opportunity to get your daughter involved in the sport and you want to send her to college, whether or not there's athletic scholarship or aid there, encourage them to get involved in sport. Of course, we'd love them to compete in acrobatics and tumbling, but encourage them to get involved in sport and be part of their campus community and have that experience that's really, truly unique, and it's something that only can be experienced within this collegiate model. It's very unique and empowering. I would also say, take lots of visits. They don't have to be official fancy visits, but check out the school. And when you select a school, make sure it's a place that you would want to be no matter what happens. If you get injured, if the coach leaves, make a selection that's really going to benefit you for life. And it's going to be a place that you're going to enjoy when you're off the field, in the classroom, social, spiritual, whatever it will be to enrich your life. Make your selection based on that.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
What fun.
So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.